Good morning, PT on Ice, YouTube. I'm gonna get Instagram rolling. Good morning, PT on Ice Daily Show. My name is Dr. Alexis Morgan, and I am one of lead faculty with clinical management of the fitness athlete, pregnancy, and postpartum. We have two courses in our division. One is online, that's an 8-week online course. And our second one is 2-day live course where we go through the internal vaginal exam. Both of these courses are absolutely for you if you are new to pelvic floor. Maybe you've never even considered doing this as part of your profession, but something is kind of pulling you in this way. You're curious, you want to get your toes wet, kind of figure out what in women's health may interest you. So these two courses are wonderful for that. Also, we really bridge the gap between the internal pelvic world and the fitness athlete world, particularly in our live course. And so maybe you're a pelvic floor clinician long time, but you're new to seeing these fitness athletes and they keep coming in your door. This is where we come in. This is where these courses come in. So we would love to have you. This weekend, I'm headed out to Utah, right outside of Salt Lake City. We've got some courses um, all throughout the rest of this year. We'll be in Cincinnati in August, Fenton in September, and so many more. So we hope that you will join us. And then our next our next online course starts in September. All right, so let's get into today's topic. We're talking about safety versus lack thereof, safe versus unsafe, pelvic floor edition. So, when we look at exercises, we're really looking at them, especially as PTs, as movement experts. We are looking at exercise to elicit a certain response from certain muscles. That muscle may be in the musculoskeletal system. That muscle may be the heart or the diaphragm. But we are expecting to elicit some type of response to get some type of gain from those muscles. Now, if you were to tell me any new exercise, show me any new exercise, we could probably find value in it for someone at some point in time, especially because we see all kinds of injuries physically. And we also are helping people through a host of mental blocks with movement. And so the MMOA division the older adult division talks a lot about um, underdosing intentionally, the intentional underdose. And that is choosing some exercises that may be kind of what we may deem as silly or not appropriate, or that's not eliciting the response from the muscles that would get them to where we want. But we're layering in that mental component, those mental blocks. And while what they may need from a physical standpoint is not the same thing as what they need from the mental standpoint, we as the professionals see their path and can help them move forward and recognize that first we're going to tackle these mental blocks, and then we're going to move forward into those physical ones. Now, granted, this is a wonderful technique that we use, and we use it all the time in pelvic health as well. But it's not one that we would wish upon someone. We don't we don't want to have to use those tools. We just do because it works really, really well. But what would be even better is if they were never afraid of exercise in the first place. And there's a whole host of reasons why people get afraid of various exercises, whether that's general exercise or maybe certain specific ones. There's so many reasons why people get afraid of them. But one in particular really, really disturbs us, especially in this pelvic world. And that is when exercises are deemed unsafe. Unsafe. I started going back and just kind of thinking about, well, what does safe versus unsafe mean? Like, can we kind of agree on the definition there? So, safe is protected from risk or protected from danger. Therefore, unsafe would be risky or dangerous. And when we start to look at different articles about the pelvic floor or about exercise for pregnant or postpartum individuals, we hear words like this: damaging the pelvic floor. I grabbed these quotes after Googling, can exercise be bad for my pelvic floor? How women sabotage their pelvic health. That's a title of an article. How women sabotage their pelvic health. And then the third one here, which I could go on for a long time. Some ab exercises can do more harm than good. So I'm sure you can tell in my tone, this really upsets me. And it upsets all of us, because why in the world would we be labeling exercises as dangerous, as sabotaging, or as harmful? The line of thinking is this. So let's take high impact exercise, for example. So the line of thinking is, well, if someone is doing high impact exercise, we see actually in the literature, and this is true, we see that this is correlated with urinary incontinence. We do see that. Therefore, we can kind of say, like, well, if you're experiencing urinary incontinence, then you have pelvic floor dysfunction. Yeah, we can say that. But to say that high impact exercise causes dysfunction or causes damage is incredibly misleading. That we are not talking about damage when we're talking about peeing our pants. I always laugh and say, no one died of peed pants, because if they did, I would have been dead as a child multiple times over. That is not the case. And then what really upsets us is that they say, okay, since these high impact exercises cause damage or dysfunction, then you should stop doing the high impact exercise. and then you'll stop leaking, and then all will be fine. But how in the world does this make sense? If they're saying that they're sneezing a lot and they're leaking with their sneezing, are we going to tell them to stop sneezing? Or if they're laughing, every time they laugh really hard and get that belly laugh where all the good chemicals, all the good relational efforts, that all the good things come from that belly laugh, but every time they do, they pee on themselves. Are we going to tell them to stop? No. It is not a problem with laughing. It is not a problem with high impact exercise, with sneezing. It's a problem with muscles not being strong enough, not being able to withstand the pressures above them. And when muscles can't withstand the demand that they're being asked upon, we don't just run away and say, "Well, stop doing that." We get them more capable of that. And unfortunately, for many people, we're having to do the mental blocks first before we can get them with the physical effects. We're going through these mental changes and trying to convince them that, well, okay, yeah, you can do ab exercise. Like you can do sit-ups. And by the way, you've been doing sit-ups every time you get out of the bed or off of the couch, right? So we have to use all of these mental blocks, and we're talking about young people. And thank goodness we're getting so many of them so that they're not carrying that into their older adulthood and having the host of issues that happen there. But my goodness, we have a lot of people to reach because anytime you go on Google and look at this stuff from seemingly reputable sources, they're saying things like you're damaging your pelvic floor. And so, I've had of course, a lot of people are asking us, especially after having their kids coming in and hoping to get their pelvic floor back stronger. And they're worried. And rightfully so if they're reading what's online. And I'll tell people, stop reading online. Listen to me. You cannot do anything to damage your pelvic floor. You just had a baby come through there if it was a vaginal birth or if it was cesarean. You held that baby in there for 9 months. You just went through a massive surgery and you are healing and you're doing wonderful. And there is nothing that you can do that is going to damage your pelvic floor. We talk about the signs of pelvic issues that they may experience as they're kind of pushing the limits as they should. And then we tell them, okay, when you experience those, let's modify, let's bring it back. Let's make sure we're doing the exercise well. And then if your pelvic floor is just fatigued, that's your sign that's telling you you've done a bit much, and we back off. But that does not mean damage. That's the furthest thing from damage. That is safe. We are reducing their risk. We're reducing their risk of them being fearful of movement. We're reducing the risk of them having mental health problems because they're so afraid to pick up their kids and they don't have that warm embrace with their kids because all they can think about is their pelvic floor. And we're minimizing the risk of them going decades without jumping or running or having any impact activities that's then going to lead them into a situation where they're having osteopenia or osteoporosis. We are reducing their risks. So we just have to realize what it is that we're talking about here. So please, please feel free to share this video with anyone who may need to hear it, with your audience or even with your communities, because we need people to understand that exercise is good and there is no such thing as safe or unsafe. It's all about the situation around them. So if they're equipped with understanding that they can hold back if they experience it, and by the way, if they don't hold back, they're also going to be okay. We're going to have those athletes who do that and think that they've wrecked everything. We are resilient human beings. We're made of tissues that heal, and we can help guide them through that rehab process all along the way, all of the ups and all of the downs. Thank you so much for hanging out with me this Monday morning. I look forward to having conversations about this, and I will see you if you're in Salt Lake City this weekend. I'll see you then. Otherwise, catch you on later. Have a good one.